Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary and today's video is going to be my September TBR, sort of. So if you have been around on the channel before, then you know that I usually play a TBR game to pick my TBR for every month. I did not do it in August because I was starting off the month doing the Olympics-a-thon, readathon, which I have a wrap up for already that I will link for you in case you missed it. Because of that, I had already picked out several books that I was planning on reading this month, and then I decided to sort of mood read through the rest of the month. So that's what I've been doing, and it's been very, very fun. But I did want to go ahead and do a sort of part one to my September TBR. There are two readathons happening in September that I'm very interested in participating in. One is the Aurelium Magical Readathon that G hosts twice a year. I did not participate back in, I think April was the last one, but she normally has the round in August, and so I didn't think I was going to participate in that this year, and then she pushed it to September. So I've just seen that video drop with her announcing that readathon. So I think I am going to try to maybe participate in that, or at least use some of the prompts from that to decide on certain things that I want to read. But I also saw that there's the Everbloom Academy readathon happening in September. I think I saw this from Meg Reads. So if that's who it is, I will leave her channel down below. And I am hoping to participate in this readathon as well. And it has how many prompts? 12 prompts. I believe in her video, she says that some of them are like main prompts and then you pick one of like the remaining prompts. I've picked a book for every prompt and I'm just gonna sort of see how we go with this. I will say, if you notice that I'm in a different filming spot than usual, it's because we are moving right now. And so all of my books are packed, basically. I have the books that I'm currently reading. So I have this, and then I have Ninth House because I wanted to reread Ninth House. I have those books not packed, but everything else is packed. So I have a bookshelf over here that's empty. My bookshelves upstairs are empty. The bookshelf over there, as you can see, is mostly empty. The only things left are like video game things that Matt uses regularly. We are moving. Everything is crazy. So I didn't want to film in that room because we're also sort of using that as like the room that we put the packed boxes in until we can move. So that's a whole other story, but I did just want to like clarify that's why I'm in a different spot. And then eventually I will be in a new spot in front of shelves in our new home where we live. Without further ado, I'm going to go through these 12 prompts, and I have picked books for each prompt, and I will just let you know what those are so you can know what's coming up in my reading life. First prompt that they have is Arcane Ethics, which is a book that teaches a lesson or has a good versus evil. And for this, I'm going to be reading a nonfiction book called The End of Policing by Alex X. Vitale. I believe this is a sort of like, I mean, obviously it's like a politically driven book, but it's also kind of a philosophy on like what life would be like if we didn't have the police system that we do, or if we changed the way that police work. And I'm interested to read it. It's a topic that I've been interested in for a while. I have not had the best luck reading nonfiction books recently. I've DNF'd quite a few, but I'm hoping that this one will be informative enough and short enough that I will want to continue in reading it. Second prompt is Geography, which is a book with a map or travel words in the title. For this, I'm reading a YA contemporary like romance type thing. It's called Let's Get Lost by Sarah Manning. I'm considering lost a travel word. I don't know how accurate that is, but let me pull up the Goodreads for this one. The Goodreads synopsis reads, a compelling YA novel from the best-selling author of Guitar Girl, Isabel is a girl who rules the school with an iron fist and a gang of minions who do her bidding. Her friends are scared of her teachers can't get anything through to her, and that's just the way she likes it. With her razor-sharp edges and tall walls, nothing gets to Isabel, and no one is ever going to discover her dark and sad secrets. Then she meets Smith, and Isabel learns that sometimes when all the expectations and pressures are too much, you just need someone to help you get lost. So again, it sounds like it's going to be a YA contemporary with a romance twist. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this one, but it's been on my TBR for a while and it's time to get to it. Third prompt is History of Magic, which is to read a book that features magic. For this, I'm hoping to read the next book in the Grisha-verse series. I've read the first two books in the original trilogy, Shadow and Bone, is that what it's called? So I will either be reading Rune and Rising, which is the third book in that series by Lee Bardugo, or I will move on to Six of Crows. And this is a fantasy series. It's a YA fantasy series following this. The first trilogy that I'm in the middle of is following this girl named Lena? Can't remember. I can never remember her name. But she is a Grisha. But she finds out that she has these magical abilities much later than most people normally do because something happens and her abilities just sort of come out. And now she's finding out that she's like one of the most powerful Grisha that's ever existed, because of course she is. And there's a romance, like a love triangle, if I could speak, between her and then this really powerful like Dark Lord guy, and then also her childhood friend Mal, who she's always been in love with. And I have mentioned on this channel that I loved book one. I thought it was fantastic. Book two, I thought was slower and also like it opened the world up a little bit more. It introduced new characters, but for the most part, like the plot didn't really develop that much, in my opinion. Like nothing happened to like push the plot forward. It just felt like we're starting book 3 exactly where we started book 2. To me, anyways. I know some things have happened, but I'm hoping that book 3 is a great like end to this trilogy, and I'm excited to see how it leads into the other books in the series, because I know that one of the characters who was introduced in book 2, I believe, is one of the main characters of the Six of Crows duology, and then he might even be a main character in King of Scars. So I'm very interested to see how that goes. I know Six of Crows is a heist book. I don't really know much more about it than that, but I do know that it connects to the same, it has some of the same characters, and it connects to the original trilogy. So I'm excited to continue with whichever I end up reading. I will tell you at this point, I don't think I'm going to finish, or I don't think I'm going to get to Ruin and Rising in August. So I am planning on reading that in September. Fourth prompt is Ancient Languages, and this is to read either a translated book or a book that has 5 or more words in the title. And for this, I'm hoping to read I Am the Ghost in Your House by Mar Ramasco Moore, or I tentatively am putting Count of Monte Cristo back on my TBR. That is translated from French. It's also extremely long, and I just don't know if I'm going to want to get to it, but I have put the audiobook on hold, and I'm hoping that that helps me get through it better. But also I want to like really read and absorb it, because it will be my second time reading the Count of Monte Cristo. I read it in school in like 7th grade, and I really didn't like it, but I also really didn't like pay attention to it. I like skim read it because it's like 1,200 pages, and I'm pretty sure we had to read it in like a month or so, and I had other shit to do, frankly. I'm excited to read that one because it is like one of the best revenge stories of all time, apparently. And I like revenge in my books. I think revenge is a really fun motivation to follow, and it like really look to explore the like morality and the gray morality of certain characters. So I'm interested to read that one. But I'm the Ghost in Your House is a YA fantasy horror? Yes, I believe so. And it says, Pi is the ghost in your house. She is not dead, she's invisible. The way she looks changes depending on what is behind her. A girl of glass, a girl who is a window. If she stands in front of floral wallpaper, she is full of roses. For Pi's entire life, it has been Pi and her mother, just the two of them traveling across America. They have slept in trains, in mattress stores, and on the bare ground. They have probably slept in your house. But Pi is lonely. And now, at 17, her mother's given her a gift, the choice of the next city they will go to. And Pi knows exactly where she wants to go, Pittsburgh, where she fell in love with a girl she plans to find once again. And this time, she will reveal herself. Only how can anyone love an invisible girl? So I'm excited to read this one. I don't know much more about it than that. Honestly, it's giving me, was it I Am Margaret Moore, which is another YA like horror book that I read a few years ago now, I think. But I enjoyed that book, but I thought it was very like weird and moody, and I didn't quite know what I was getting into. So I feel kind of the same way about this one. I don't exactly know what I'm getting into, but I am excited to read this one. The cover is really cool, and I hope I enjoy it if I do end up reading that instead of the Count of Monte Cristo. The fifth prompt is Magic Botany, I don't know. And so it says, read a book that features plants. And for this, I'm planning on reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang, because poppy is a plant. This is a historical fantasy about the Opium Wars, and I believe we follow this main character, Ren. Is that her name? I could be wrong, but I think that's it. And I'm not gonna look. But she is I think it's kind of like similar to Mulan-esque, where she ends up taking the place of someone in a battle, or she tries to go to this like military school. And I believe over the course of the trilogy, she becomes a more morally gray character as you're reading about her. But I'm excited to read this one. I read Babel by R.F. Kuang, and I did really enjoy it, but I felt like it could have been both shorter and longer. And oddly enough, like I felt like there were certain things that could have been delved into more, and had she had more time, she might have been able to develop those characters and storylines better. But also there were things that I felt like she overwrote and didn't need to be in the book. So I that's kind of a hit or miss book for me. Like I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it, but I also think it was pretty heavy-handed in its messaging. And I have not heard anything about The Poppy War being heavy-handed. Like I went into that one and I've heard of Yellowface as well, and they're both kind of over like heavy-handed, and that's something that I don't really love. But I'm excited to read The Poppy War. It is a trilogy, so I will be adding more books to my like series TBR, but I'm hoping that I enjoy it. Prompt 6 is Musicraft, which is a book that features music. And as you know, or you may not know, I don't really love books that feature music. Like that's not something that I totally enjoy. But for this, I have put Music for Wartime by Rebecca Makkai on this list. it has occurred to me that now that I've packed all my books up, it is packed up with all the other books that I have, but that's a short story collection, and I believe it has some historical fiction, some contemporary. I've read a couple of Rebecca Mackay's works, and I've enjoyed all of them, but I haven't loved any of them. So I don't know if this is going to be something that I love or what, but I really like her writing style. I get along with it. I like her characters, and I like short stories. So I'm hoping that this will be a hit. The 7th prompt is unicorn and dragon writing. So you're supposed to read a book that features dragons or unicorns. Again, this is something that I don't really read a ton of. I don't know that I've ever read a book that features unicorns, to be honest. And I've read a few books that feature dragons, but not recently. I guess the Game of Thrones books feature dragons. But anyways, I'm planning on reading The Rage of Dragons, maybe. And I can't remember who wrote that, but that's, again, another start to a series. I've heard really good things about it, but I don't know that I want to start another high fantasy series. So in lieu of that, I might end up reading Burn by Patrick Ness, which is a standalone fantasy. And I believe it's like historical fantasy, but there are dragons. So I think it's set in like the Pacific Northwest in the early 1900s maybe, or up to the 1950s. I don't know exactly when it's set, but it's supposed to be on this farm and they have a dragon. And that's really all I know about it. I think I heard about this book from Becca in the Books like 4 or 5 years ago, and it's time. I'm gonna read it and we're gonna see what I think. The 8th prompt is basic elements. So you're supposed to read a book featuring water, earth, fire, or air. For this, I'm planning on reading A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins, which I think is a mystery thriller. So I'm gonna look it up. So it is a mystery thriller, and the Goodreads synopsis says, when a young man is found gruesomely murdered in a London houseboat, it triggers questions about 3 women who knew him. Laura is the troubled one. Oh no, Laura is the troubled one-night stand last seen in the victim's home. Carla is his grief-stricken aunt, already mourning the recent death of yet another family member. And Miriam is the nosy neighbor, clearly keeping secrets from the police. So I don't know if this is going to be told from each of their points of view, or if it's going to be told from like the police investigating them's point of view, but I am excited to read this one. I've heard good things about Paula Hawkins. Did she also write The Girl on the Train? She might have. I can't remember. I want to say she did though, which is something I'm not actually interested in reading because I watched the movie and I thought it was fine. I used a couple of thriller tropes that I'm not a super big fan of, but they were very popular around the time that that book came out. And I think that that book might have been one of the first ones to use those tropes, but because I never read it, and I have read other books with those tropes in them that like, and I know what the twist is because I've seen the movie, I don't know that I need to read that one, if that makes sense. The 9th prompt is Healing 101, a book featuring a healing plotline or a character that is a healer, doctor, nurse, whatever. And for this, I'm going to be reading The Whisper Man by Alex North, primarily because the first line of the Goodreads like summary synopsis thing says, after the sudden death of his wife, Tom Kennedy believes a fresh start will help him and his young son, Jake, heal. Healing plotline. This is another mystery thriller. I believe this is set in the same world as, what was it? The Shadows by Alex North. And I think that this book comes first, because The Whisper Man is referenced in that book, but it's not spoiled, but I know that it is a case that has happened. I don't know that much else about this. I do know this came out a long time ago, and I know that people really liked it when it came out, but I never read it, so it's time to read it now. The 10th prompt is The Department of Half-Truths. I wrote etc. because I assume it's longer than that, the name. But for that, the prompt is to read a dark academia book, or a book with words like secret or cheat, or a book with a secret society. And for this, I'm going to be reading Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, because hopefully I will have reread Ninth House by this point. The reason I'm rereading Ninth House is so that I can read Hellbent finally, because my like best friend from college read Ninth House when she went on vacation this summer because I recommended it to her, and then she started reading Hellbent and was like, oh my god, this is so good. And I was like, la 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 la, I haven't read that one yet. So I'm rereading Ninth House so that I can get into Hellbent, so that I can talk to her about it, hopefully, which is going to be really fun. But I am excited. So this is a series, obviously, about a woman named Alex Stern. Her name is actually Galaxy, which I think is very quirky and funny. But Alex is kind of like a troubled kid, troubled teen, and she gets into a lot of trouble, and then, obviously, she lives out in California, and I think she's like 22 when the book starts, 21 or 22. She's like older than college age, but she never went to college. And Yale finds her because they find out that she can see ghosts, because this thing happens where she sees ghosts. And Yale's secret societies are magical. And they need someone who can see ghosts because ghosts are attracted to magic, and they're very dangerous if they're not like kept at bay. So she goes to join, I think the Leith House is the Ninth House that she ends up being a part of. And the Ninth House, the first book, is told kind of in 2 timelines. So the first is the like past timeline of Alex getting to Yale and learning about the secret society stuff, and then also what's going on in New Haven around her, which is where Yale is located. And if you don't know, this is actually true. My husband's family is from West Haven, Connecticut, which is like west of New Haven, as the name implies. But Yale is obviously like a very privileged university, so there are a lot of really wealthy people in and around Yale. And then the surrounding neighborhoods are like very working class, and in recent years have become rampant with like drug addiction and like crime problems related to that. This book actually talks about that quite a lot. And there are like murders that are happening with townies around West Haven or New Haven. And Alex is like sort of trying to figure out what's going on with that. She's also trying to figure out what's happening with the secret society. And then we also have a future timeline where Darlington, who is the other guy who can see ghosts and is like training her. They call it, oh, my lack of literary knowledge is showing. Dante and what is the name of the poet who is guiding Dante through the levels of hell? I can't remember. Regardless, they have like that relationship. So one of them is the Dante, one of them is the other person. Sorry. But Darlington has gone missing, and Alex is like trying to figure out what happened with him. So there's like a mystery around that as well. It's very good. This has very mixed reviews. I really liked it. Everything about it really worked for me. So I'm very excited to jump into book 2 in September, hopefully. The 11th prompt is the Department of Magical Studies. And this prompt is to read a book that features nature or talking animals. And for this, I'm hoping to read Dead to the World by Charlene Harris, which I can't remember if it's the 4th or 5th book in the Sookie Stackhouse series, but I do own quite a few of these books. And I want to continue reading them, or I want to get rid of them. Like, if I don't want to read them, then I don't want to read them. But like, I always have a fine time reading them. They're fine. They're vampire or paranormal romances set in Louisiana. And in this world, humans know that vampires exist and they like coexist with each other, but there's also other magical stuff that exists that people don't really know about. And I'm pretty sure there's a shapeshifter. I know there's a shapeshifter. I'm pretty sure he can, I don't know if he can talk in his wolf form. When I picked this, I thought that he could, but now I'm just saying that because he shapeshifts, he talks as a human, and then he shapeshifts into a dog, and that counts for me. And then the 12th and final prompt is the Department of Supernatural Investigations. And so this is to read a book that features a thief or a spy or a mystery thriller. So the book that I have picked on this, I don't know if I'm actually gonna like. So I might scrap this and pick something else, or I might just scrap this prompt, who knows? But it's Agent Running in the Field by John Le Carre. And I believe this is a spy thriller, but I think it's more on the literary side. I don't typically like spy thrillers. I cannot remember where I heard of this book or why I put it on my TBR, but there it is. And I'm going to try to read it, and if I hate it, I'll DNF it. That's something that I'm so proud of myself about. I have been DNFing books like nobody's business. I have not been forcing myself to finish books that I really hate for the most part. And I love that for me. I'm having such a better time reading because I'm reading things that I'm in the mood for. And finally, the last caveat that I have to say for this video, if I decide that I don't want to read any of these books, I might put them off for a later date. I also might just DNF them or take them off my TBR entirely if I'm just not in the mood and I don't think I will like them. And that's okay. So that's something that I'm really trying to like become okay with. But thanks so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments down below if you are participating in this readathon. Also, let me know if you're doing Aurelium and if you think I should try to do both. Because if I did both, what I think I would do is try to combine prompts where I can and then just fill in where I can't. I don't think I would do Aurelium the way it's supposed to be played, where you like have a character and you're trying to complete certain courses so that you can get certain degrees. I would mostly just do it for the prompts and to like hang out. But let me know if you are doing Aurelium and if you think I should do it, basically. And if I do decide to do it, I will probably make another video like this where I go through the books that I'm planning on reading for Aurelium. I haven't gone through those prompts yet and picked things, but I will probably try to put the 12 books that are on this TBR also onto my Aurelium TBR so that I have all the books together in like, and I'm not reading like 50 books or something because that's not sustainable for me. But thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you would like to, you can subscribe to my channel because I do post occasionally. I used to say I post 2 times a week, but I don't think I posted in like 2 weeks. So sorry about that. I'm fine. Things are just crazy and hectic and my work is really crazy right now. And also we're moving. So that's pretty stressful. But thanks so much for watching this video. I will see you in another video very soon. Bye.